Commencement exercises for Harvard Business School will now begin. Would you please stand for the playing of the national anthem of the United States? Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome. My name is Youngmi Moon. I'm head of the MBA program here at HBS, and I am honored and delighted to stand before you today. To those of you who are visiting our campus for the first time, we welcome you. To those of you who have traveled many miles to be here for a loved one, we welcome you. But most of all, to those of you who have spent the last 2 years of your lives calling this place home, to those of you who so beautifully represent the Harvard Business School class of 2013, we congratulate you and we salute you today. If you remember, I had the privilege of welcoming you here 2 years ago on your very first day of classes. And now here it is on the day you transition from student to graduate. And the only thing I have left to say to you is this: today is a celebration. It is a celebration of lives lived with meaning and without regret. It is a celebration of accomplishment and potential, a celebration of family and friends and the ties that bind. The truth is, days like this don't come along very often. Moments like this are few and far between. So my advice to you, our beloved class of 2013, is to take this day and fill it with as much joy as is humanly possible. Celebrate, rejoice, laugh without inhibition, give each other high fives, congratulate yourselves on a job well done, say a toast to yourselves and say it with gusto, kick up your heels, dance till dawn. This is your day. You have earned this day. You have worked hard for this day. And all of us here extend to you our most joyful congratulations. I would now like to present to you Nitin Noria, Dean of Harvard Business School.
The HBS class of 2013, family and friends, and members of the Harvard Business School community. Good afternoon and welcome. This morning at the Harvard Yard commencement exercises, through a little faux pas, I almost prevented you all from getting a degree. I promised you this afternoon I am actually here to present you your degrees. Every graduating class has something that distinguishes it. a special quality by which it is remembered. When we think of the class of 2013, we will always remember you as a group of pioneers, as students who experienced so many firsts during your 2 years at Harvard Business School. You were the class that experienced our year-long celebration of the W50, marking the admission of women to our MBA program 50 years ago. You were the class that helped us launch the Harvard iLab, opening all of Harvard to a shared exploration of entrepreneurial ideas. Most of all, you were the first class to experience FIELD, perhaps the most significant experiment in our MBA curriculum since HBS began using case studies almost 100 years ago. It is no exaggeration to say that you have probably experienced more innovations during your time as MBA students than most of the classes in the school's 105-year-old history. I hope this status gives you a great sense of pioneering pride, as it truly should. Today, I'd like to offer a few thoughts on some personal qualities that I hope will stay with you long after you leave Harvard Business School, qualities that you've already exhibited during your time here and which will serve you well as you continue to build your lives and careers. When I became dean, I outlined 5 priorities for the school that I call the 5 I's: innovation, intellectual ambition, internationalization, inclusion, and integration. When people heard these 5 I's, many told me that I was simply in love with alliteration. Let me talk to you, though, in that same spirit today about 3 A's: audacity, adaptability, and appreciation. If you're going to undertake anything, do it with audacity. Live in keeping with the saying, go big or go home. You will begin this next phase of your lives in a world facing very large challenges. To solve them, we desperately need people who see giant opportunities where others see giant problems. People who think big. People who, as our former student Nate Bielmeyer would remind us, make no little plans. As you go forward, remember the audacity you showed in your applications to enter Harvard Business School. Remember what your classmate Alexandra DeVito wrote in her application. I am the type of adventurer who is afraid of heights, but selects roller coasters with the biggest vertical drops to keep my fear fresh. I wouldn't want to forget how to terrify myself on command. Little did she know that when you joined us here, you would be beginning a similar roller coaster ride we called FIELD, an effort to reimagine how we educate MBAs to give them more opportunities for learning by doing. Because leadership is not just about mastering a body of knowledge. It is translating that knowing into doing and internalizing and exhibiting the being of leadership. When we look back at FIELD, it can be easy to forget just how risky it was at the outset. Within a relatively short planning period, 6 months, we had to arrange for 900 students, each and every one of you, to fly to an emerging market, in most cases a place you'd never visited before. We had to arrange for you to work inside a company, 150 of them scattered all over the world, on a real and meaningful business problem. It would have been easy for us to try something less ambitious, to try FIELD out with a section or 2. I vividly remember coming back from a meeting of our boards of deans advisors where they pretty much told us that we were trying to do too much too soon. It is easy to doubt yourself when you're trying to do something audacious. Indeed, I would argue the only way you know you're going to be audacious enough is if others, and occasionally even you yourself, have doubts about your ambition. But we felt that FIELD was worth doing. We should manage the risks and go big from the start, and to do it audaciously. I'm sure you all have some amazing memories of your Fields 2 excursion 16 months ago. I have my own vivid memories of that time. Each evening, I'd simply wait and watch my email inbox for a simple message. All students accounted for, everyone is safe. While I hope you learned much from your field experience, I hope you also realize how much Harvard Business School learned from you during this experience and from your willingness to be pioneers in this important experiment. Probably 40% of what we did in the second year of field was different from what we did with you in the first year, all because of the feedback you provided, some gently and some not so gently. All kidding, this is an important point. Although Harvard Business School exhibited audacity in trying to do something as groundbreaking as field, audacious behavior should always be undertaken with a sense of humility, a recognition of fallibility, and a firm sense that we don't know all the answers. That attitude is at the heart of the second personal characteristic I will ask you to consider today: adaptability. During spring break, while many of you took the chance to travel, and I'm sure your parents and family will agree that Harvard Business School students seem to travel all the time, I too took a trip of my own to a destination that had long been on my bucket list, the Galapagos Islands. In my academic career, I'd studied and written about Darwin, and so this was a particularly meaningful trip for me. When people think about Darwin, or for that matter, Harvard Business School, the first phrase that comes to mind is survival of the fittest. That often brings up connotations of species that are the strongest, the smartest, the tallest, or the fastest. When you see animals in the islands where Darwin worked to develop his theory, lots of sea turtles, you're often reminded that the fittest aren't always the fastest or the strongest. Darwin was clear. The fittest are those most willing to adapt to changes in their environment. We would be well advised to follow his wisdom. At Harvard Business School, despite our storied history, we have always consistently worked to adapt to the changing world. When I arrived here 25 years ago, almost all of the cases we taught focused on US companies. Last year, more than 50% of the new cases we wrote featured companies in international settings, reflecting the extraordinary changes that globalization has brought to business and society. Now, as you enter the next phases of your careers, remember that you will inevitably need to adapt too. To cite just one example, some of you will be going to work in the field of private equity, which has emerged over the last decade as a popular career for MBA graduates. It's important to recognize that when the people leading PE firms graduated from Harvard Business School, many of them from this business school, almost 30 years ago, private equity barely existed. The people leading these firms today literally created the field. That may sound astonishing today, but it's not that unusual. If you look at some of the most popular employers today, names like Google, Amazon, and Facebook, these firms not only did not exist 20 years ago, their industries didn't exist either. Creating graduates who can dynamically adapt to an ever-changing business environment has been a goal of Harvard Business School since its inception. We hope that the education you have received here prepares you to excel in your first job after Harvard Business School. But more importantly, our real goal is that it prepares you for the work you will do over the entire arc of your life. To be adaptable, you must be open to feedback and criticism. You must consider the views of others. You must be willing to embrace uncertainty and to enter risky situations where you're not exactly sure of the outcome. You must be inventive and attentive to finding new opportunities to create value in the world. I hope we've helped you develop these qualities during your 2 years with us, and I urge you to continue to develop them in the years ahead. Throughout, though, remember that even as the world changes and you adapt to the challenges and opportunities it presents, you must stay true to your authentic self. When I became dean, I received a lot of advice. But the best advice I received was from my father. In a short handwritten letter, after expressing his joy that I had become the dean of an institution that I so deeply loved and that had done so much for me, he wrote, "Above all, be yourself. It is too hard to be the person you think someone else wants you to be. Being inauthentic will almost inevitably trip you up. The only way you can and should do this job is by being true to yourself." It is advice that has served me well many a time, and one on a day in which you are surrounded by your family, I wanted to pass on to you. The third characteristic I want you to consider this afternoon is appreciation. It's an emotion this class has had many opportunities to reflect upon, for your group has become especially acquainted with the fragility of life. Even before the class of 2013 arrived on campus, it lost one of its members, a Nigerian engineer named Nakuru Amine, to an automobile accident. And in the last 6 weeks, you've lived through the Boston Marathon bombings and its aftermath. And you've grieved with us for the daughter of a longtime Harvard Business School staff member who was a victim of the attack. During times of great sadness, community becomes even more important. And during these recent weeks, I have deeply appreciated the extraordinary sense of community that the class of 2013 has worked to create. In reflecting on what took place on Boylston Street on that April afternoon, it's astonishing how bravely and effectively our city's first responders performed, and how much gratitude we all owe them for preventing even more loss of life. If you think back to Darwin, you'll recall that animals are shaped by evolution to flee from danger. It's an essential survival instinct. But as bombs began shaking the final yards of the marathon route, instead of fleeing, Boylston Street was flooded by people in uniform and in civilian clothes, some of them graduates of Harvard Business School, running, but running not away from the problem, but toward the problem. It's a striking image. While the everyday problems faced by managers are less dramatic and less ire, we can all learn a lesson from our city's first responders, and we can aspire to be the kind of people who run towards problems. Very few of the problems you will face in your lives and careers will be the kind of thing you can solve by yourself. More often, you'll be part of a team or leading a team that confronts a challenge. In this situation, you will be well served to be aware of the importance of showing appreciation, and showing it often. At HBS, our mission is to educate leaders who make a difference in the world, and every leader must recognize and appreciate the work of his or her team, without whom there is no one to lead. Think back over the last 2 years and consider how many times we asked you to work in groups, to collaborate, to cooperate, and think back to how in most of these cases, the task we put before you was one you couldn't possibly have completed on your own. Part of the goal of these exercises was to help you to learn to appreciate others. On a day like this, it's especially appropriate that all of us, once again, as our wonderful class speaker, Brooke Boyarsky, asked us to do yesterday, show our appreciation to those who have helped you make it to this milestone. So members of the class of 2013, stand up, turn around. As much as this is a celebration of you, none of it would have been possible without the strong support you've received from others, the husbands, wives, and partners, the parents, sisters and brothers, aunts, uncles, cousins, and friends who've nurtured you, encouraged you, and believed in you. Please join me in giving them a big hand. Okay. The faculty and I join your families and friends in congratulating you on all you have accomplished during your time with us. We celebrate you, and we wish you good fortune as you begin your next adventures. The world desperately needs good leadership, and you have been prepared to provide it. So be audacious, be adaptive, and be appreciative of the many blessings in your life, most especially the privilege to lead. We will be rooting for you to become leaders who will make a difference in the world and in the lives of all you touch. As you begin this exciting journey, I wish you Godspeed.
Thank you, Dean Noria. We will now present the doctoral degrees with Professor Kathleen McGinn and the candidates for Doctor of Business Administration, Doctor of Philosophy in Business Economics, Doctor of Philosophy in Health Policy, and Doctor of Philosophy in Organizational Behavior. Please come forward.
Abigail McIntosh Allen. Ethan Bernstein. Sen Chai. Raymond Fung. Benjamin C. Iverson. Chonikarn Yira. Hoan So Lee. Jeffrey Kwok Y. Lee. Mary Carol Madza. Anub Ramachandran Menon. William Turner Kincaid Schmid. Melissa A. Valentine.
We will now present the diplomas to the joint degree candidates for Master in Business Administration and Doctor of Medicine from Harvard Medical School. Would Professor Carl Kester and our MD, MBA students please come forward?
Mehul Bath. Albert Chu. Brady Evans. Amy Flaster. Melinda Lee. Brittany Lynn. Joseph Lopez. Ben Nwachukwu. Yan Shao. High distinction.
We will now present the diplomas for the Master in Business Administration degree, and we'll do this the way we do everything at Harvard Business School, by section. We will begin with Section A. Would Professor Andy Zalecki in Section A please come forward?
Cliff Adams. Bader Almana. Eric Anderson. Meka Asonyi. Yassi Bayani. Mackenzie Banks distinction. Tom Barr. Vernon Beckford. Margaret Burke distinction. Joseph Blair. T.J. Blenford. Alexander Blankfein. Matt Boyce. Catherine Brooks, distinction. Samuel Berkey. Francesca Cecil. Christina Chang. Onusa Chantana Pongwanji. Zuriel Chavez. Royce Cheng. Iker Siliero Echabeste. Tess Deering, high distinction. Bindi Daria. Michael Diverio. Olivier Dufour-Mantel. Nour Farak. Anna Maria Gea. Patrick Goldrick. Andrew Gosden. Gabriel Grados Villamar. Maura Grohl, high distinction. Rebecca Green, distinction. Saeed Hamid, distinction. Raviraj Jain. C.J. James. Selena Calvaria. Rana Kashyap. Shwan Kazas. Mary Knudsen. Leslie Kirkjan. Jennifer Lee. Nisa Lieberman. Henry Lin. Angela Lopez. Louisa Malkin. David Marchand. Scott McBride. Janelle McDonald. Daniel McQuarrie. Prashant Mehrota. Varun Mehta. Jackson Knoll. Matthew O'Neill. Siddhartha Palani. Heining Pan. Andrew Park. Melissa Perlmutter. Andreas Filippi. Andrew Pushel. Prem Ramaswamy, Dean's Award winner and high distinction. Mary Haley. Thomas Reitinger. Stephen Renter. Johannes Reuter. Misan Rewani. Alex Ring. Amir Ruzukro. Todd Rudianin. Distinction. Valerie Scheer. Chris Schipper. Kevin Scholl, high distinction. Alvaro Sendagorta Kudos, high distinction. Nicole Chomer. Alan Stoddard. Anushka Sunder. Mark Tate. Joris van Gol, distinction. Angela Wise. Julia Shu. Kathleen Ye. Akio Yonekura. Anna Yoon. Winnie Yu. Matthew Ziegler.
Would you all please join me in congratulating Harvard Business School Class of 2013, Section A. Would Professor Karthik Ramana and Section B please come forward?
Rebecca Adler. Rohin Agarwal. Jose Agote. Sarika Agrawal. Trish Amoha Natim. Nafis Atigula. Anna B. Netam Bagarzadi. Charles Barron. Levi Belknap. Katie Bennett. Chris Bruce. Francis Cashin. Luis Cervantes. Lefteris Charalambous. Distinction. Mark Chapolino. L. Chick. Joseph Coyne. Karan Danti. Distinction. Tom Dean. Will Dinkel. Margot Edelman. Bastien Fuller. Christy Jen. Nina George. Anita Gupta. Jeffrey Gouchard. Brett Gwynn. Bill Harrison. Ibiye Harry. Christopher Hill. Yira Hiraoka. Andrew Hitchens. Vicky Hu. Ruchi Jen. Shan Yang. Megan Joyce. Azmira Camille. Sarah Carolyn. Kristen Kester, high distinction. Michael Konyalian. Thomas Koskela. Jonathan Kratz. James Kirshner. Dan Kuhagen. Buncho Cure. Paola Lara. Bradley Lawrence. Eve Leipwol. Joanna Maria Libano Montero. Mao Lin. Paul Lookhart, Sherry Malek, Katie Mandel, Thomas Masterson, Megan McDonald, distinction, Denise Mead, Scott Mylon, Yuri Mikalev, high distinction, Aaron Miller, Warren Min, distinction, Ilya Minevich, Atulia Mittal, Jacob Montoya, Andrew Musoki, Mariano Niemann, John Niehaus, Danielle Oliver, Alex Pack, Gabrielle Parisi Amon, Jamie Park, Nick Patrick, Natasha Pereira Kamath, distinction, John Pontrello, Rami Sarafa, Leah Sellers, Amol Shah, Jonathan Sheck, distinction, Alexei Sosnovsky, distinction, Kate Stoughton, Sheila Sun, Marks Torbert, Peter Vu, Carrie Williams, Susanna Wilson, Ning Shu, Zari Zara, Brooke Daniels,
Please join me in congratulating Harvard Business School Class of 2013, Section B. Would Professor Anthony Mayo and Section C please come forward?
Joseph Abel, Fopi Adelowo, Aaron Anderson, Abina Asari, Kyle Bertkey, Adam Beshvinik, Amit Bakwat, Celia Bosch Torres, Catherine Brisebois, Brandy Burns, Lauren Burrows, Abbas Kosser, Hafiz Shagani, Theodore Chestnut, Victor Shu, Patrick Cooper, Hunter Craig, Vitor Danieluzzo, Christopher Daniels, Samantha David, Frédéric Dijol, Joseph Dolan, Elma Donahoe Distinction, Elena Doobie, Barry Lee Edison High Distinction, Daniel English, Samantha Ernst, Craig Fitzgerald, David Flannery, Itamar Frankenthal, Jennifer G, Rupakshi Goel, Matt Hinkle, Christopher George Hollins, Wayne Hu, Tom Humphrey, Justin Hupp, Peyton Hurl, Saad Islam, David Katz, Nikita Kitan, Ashna Kirschner, Matthew Kleitus, Natasha Kulkarni, Jonathan Lask, Jake Latcham, Scott Lazaruk, Lisa Lim, Bruce Lynn, Matthew Lichtig, Casey Littlefield, Sergey Loiter Distinction, Rachel Lopez, Nate Lowry, Thomas Luque, Amir Malayeri, Shitan Mehta High Distinction, Eric Montgomery, David Moon, Akshay Navaladi, Milagros Navarrete Cervantes, Clayton Nylander, Christopher Ogden, Jeanette Park, High Distinction, Lindsay Bruce, Kathy Quinn, Hassan Rashid, High Distinction, Emily Rasmussen, Beatriz Roa Tejero, distinction. Philip Rohn. Jeff Rosland. Philip Schaumburg, high distinction. Jeremy Schreiber. Dawn So. Dilipan Siva. Jyoti Sood. Lauren Stenberg. Rodrigo Suarez, distinction. Jeff Sewer, distinction. Trinidad Tisado. Gunnar Ulrich. Bora Uluduz. Olivia Yin. Lucy Tsang. Dawn Tsang. Olga Zinovieva. Tina Susek.
Please join me in congratulating Harvard Business School Class of 2013, Section C. Would Professor Joshua Margolis and Section D please come forward?
Dami Adesanya. Rafael Anderson. Guy Atunyes. Craig Baker. Christian Bettinger, high distinction. Ryan Burkle. Steve Black. Alexander Boglin. Lee Bollinger. Stefania Borroli. Silar Buksha, high distinction. Jonathan Bird. Aline Camargo. Joshua Choi. Christophe Combet. Terence Connell. Gordon Cook. Lindsay Kronberg. José Carlos del Valle. Lily Deng. Alexandria De Vito. Jan Dolejal, distinction. Jillian Durans. Lily Feng. Said Francis. Nicholas Freund. Brandon Groff. Shika Gupta. Mimi Hanley. Vanaria Herdoon. Brett Hofer. Ed Shea. Bynum Hunter. Assad Hussain. Gaurav Jain. Farah Jamal. Margot Kabalkin. Pallavi Kansal. Joanna Cow. Vinye Kasyap. Azalia Kim. Jonathan Lai. Justin Langlois. Kaivan Larizade. Eddie Lay. Andy Levine. Brittany Levinson. Julie Lee. Jaylee Lynn. Alex Livingston. Ryan McWilliam. High distinction. Ahmed Makani. Distinction. Tushar Malu. Aaron May. Steve Miller. Gopesh Mittal. Alice Newcomb, high distinction. Erasmo Nuzzi. Erica Olson. Sheen Wei Yui. Sandra Ottensman. Ali Patel. Michael Porter. Rudmila Raman. Katie Regner. Alan Ritchie. Darren Rivas. Distinction. Catherine Robs. Distinction. Eddie Santillan. Cara Scarborough. Noura Selim. Chris Schilling. C.R. Sincock, high distinction. Emma Somers Roy. Jason Sorger. Glenn Thrope. Veronica Tong. Amanda Upton. Jennifer Vignes. Jona Wagner. Annie Wheeler. Janie Wilson Key. Kang Shu. Adam Zalisk. Distinction. Alan Song.
please join me in congratulating Harvard Business School Class of 2013, Section D. Would Professor Rawi Abdullah and Section E please come forward?
Firdevs Abagiolu, high distinction. Andrea Accarelli, Barry Altschuler, Trip Androy, Jonathan Ardouin, Kendi Bafour Awa, Anish Barwale, Sri Bachu, Christopher Bertrand, distinction. Austin Blackman, Nadia Buryawa, Tina Bulugura, Brooke Boyarski, high distinction. Evan Britton Bozone, Anne Chow, Francis Chen, Marco Crespo, Jennifer Ding, Anand Dureja, Richard Wesley Eddy, Justin Eakins, John Feeney, Tom Flayhive, Fola Folo Wasele, Menat Allah Ghaffar, Lydia Gilbert, Justin Gilstrap, Daniel Kwok, Stephen Hill, Charles Henri Henault, Alexis Kent, Andrew Kaplan, high distinction, Anna Karimi, Kavi Kroot, Kelsey Kennedy, high distinction, Jay Kill, Pavlo Kononenko, Subodh Kumar, Tiffany Kung, Manu Lacour, Brittany Lanier, Joyce Lee, Sebastian Legler, Derek Leung, Kate Lewis, Carlo Lim, Nicholas Ling, Matthew Lingenbrink, distinction, Kelvin Lowe, Jasmine Mandivala, Samir Mikati, Sarah Minkus, Alexandre Nagirniak, Justin Oppenheimer, distinction. Ryan Pector, Alessandro Palma, distinction. Andrew Payne, Stephen Pearson, Nicola Pesciarelli, Lisa Plimpton, Dave Siaki, Andrea Quadros, Jennifer Rains, Karen Robinson, Josh Rubin, Nikhil Sajdev, Hayek Sarkisian, Oliver Schlumer, Rahul Sharma, Maria Sinopoli, David Snyder, Eric Sparks, Andrew Stein, Marissa Steinmetz, Margaret Terry, Troy Tomasic, Monica Trench, Elisabeth von Lichem, Ben Wanamaker, Albert Wang, David Wary, Cameron Will, Arthur Witt, high distinction, Kara Yoon, Mariko Yoshida, Jane Yu.
Please join me in congratulating Harvard Business School Class of 2013, Section E. Would Professor Joshua Koval and Section F please come forward?
Christina Adams, Abhishek Agrawal, Adel Alderbas, Alex Anton, Alexander Appel, Nadav Ben Barak, E. Kyle Bizuti, Daniel Bodley, high distinction, Stephanie Botello, Anosh Agarwal, Andy Boudreau, Will Brown, Steve Brook, Eugenio Camus, Dimitri Chandris, Ilya Chernilovsky, Eric Chernov, Curtis Daniels, Kelsey DeBrian, Allison D, Amy Diaz, Landon Dickey, Jason Donahue, Sraboni Dutta, high distinction, Alejandro Esteve, Jonathan Evans, Joseph Ferrer, distinction, Matt Fisher Colbury, Steve Ford, Emily Fraser, Priyanka Ganju, Alexandra Garcia, Orinola Gadebo Smith, Roshni Goel, Zachary Good, Azusa Hanai, Scott Michael Harris, Alice Heathcote, Alice Eno Depré, Michael Hess, Cara Hoy, Jenny Huang, Nicholas James, Angela Gilson, Sahid Kassam, Victoria Katsaru, distinction, Michael Kaufman, Sonia Kim, Stephanie Kwong, Nishant Lalvani, Trisha Lee, Xianlin Lee, Christine Loggins, Jonathan McLean, Lindsay McGregor, Lauren Meyer, Caroline Murphy, Jennifer Murphy, James Nowicki, distinction, Krista Nyland, Harrison Osborne, Disha Patel, Josh Petersel, Nick Putridis, Josh Plavner, Jen Porter, Justin Ramallo, Ankit Samdaria, Jono Schaeffler, distinction, Carl Skinassi, Mike Scott, Bria Selhorst, Sami Siddiqui, Danielle Slutsky. Jessica Stolbach. Paul Sutphin. Tomo Tanaka. Karen Tang. Patrick Toomey. Jeff Wang. Alicia Whitmore. Aileen Wu. Bocha Zhang.
Please join me in congratulating Harvard Business School Class of 2013, Section F. Would Professor Felix Oberholzer-Guy and Section G please come forward?
Akinseye Akinola. Jessica Asinugo. Felipe Ateide Marquez. Greg Ayers. Nareem Azad. Jason B. Maria Baibakova. Monica Beck, high distinction. Jonathan Bassani. Ishna Berry. Nicholas Burke, distinction. James Blanchard. Matt Bornstein. Maxime Bote-Sazan. Scott Bradley. Alex Brakebill. Jennifer Browse. Maria Brewer, distinction. Vanessa Brockway. Max Antonio Berger. Eric Calderon. Robert Casper. Rachel Cecil. Jessica Chen. Carla Chien. Miles Clemens. Harry Cominos. Eugene Cook, distinction. Louise Couch, high distinction. Clifton Dawson. Rajiv Dham. Michelle Dillard. Ramiz Dosa. Allison Ernst. Anthony Fideli, distinction. Fabiola Filento. Cass Gilmore, distinction. Valerie Gong. Patrick Griffin. Matthew Guilford, high distinction. Bailey Harden. Jahanseb Hassan. Tim He. Tom Hennessy. John Hillman. Scott Hofmeister. Jim Hong. Rachel Horowitz. Fei Fei Hu. Christian Carrega. Distinction. Erica Carlin. Craig Keisler. Fernando Condergen. Stephanie Kwok. Rita Lalou. Michael Lenderer. Chris Lawler. Judith Lee. Distinction. Debbie Limongan. David Magram. Distinction. Travis Nels. Pedro Noyola. Joshua Olek. Sagi Paz. Mateus Riolfi. David Rivera. Ishan Sajdev. Distinction. Basem Salama. Tiago Santelmo. Jill Seskin. Zach Scott. Leah Shackleton. Samia Shamim. Saravana Sivasanskaran. Eric Stetler. Distinction. Candy Tang. Matthew Thurgood. Mansi Totade. Winnie Tseng. Alexandre van der Rijt. Alberto Velarde Gutierrez. Courtney Wallace. Marius Weigand. Catherine Weibel. Distinction. Lin Yu. Ying Zhu.
Please join me in congratulating Harvard Business School Class of 2013, Section G. Would Professor Alan McCormack and Section H please come forward?
Tina Adams. Betty Argilet Playa. Abhishek Banerjee. Carlos Borges Marin. Irving Bournial. Sean Brazier. Drew Brinkcutter. Thomas Bunnick. Jamila Calhoun. Akbar Kosser. Alexander Shmilev. Anders Christofferson. Matthew Cross. Craig Danton.
Yeah, Craig.
Tristan de Souza. Alexandra Dixon. Alex Denuncio Distinction. Jeff Dermo. Laura Dresser. John Evans. Mabel Feng. Javier Fernandez. Elizabeth Koff. Sarah Greenbaum. Akira Hakuta. John Haskell, Distinction. Kevin Henderson. Christina Ho. Vincent Ho Tin Nui. Brandis Johnson. Marcos Jorge Leon. Hei Jean Kim. Diana Kimball. Zachary Kirkhorn. Melody Coe. Elizabeth Kolchak. Dmitry Kozakchenko. Morgan Kruger. Howard Shang Kwok. Michael Song Lee. Matthew Lesniak. Dean's Award winner and high distinction. Michelle Lee. Chad Lossie. High distinction. Jean Luo. Tanmay Matur. Zana McComish, Distinction. Irem Metin. Marla Metz. Kelsey Miller. Aaron Mitchell. Kyle Mosley. Henri Mott Munoz. Distinction. Tom Musgrave. Tomo Nakazawa, distinction. Neda Nawab. Elisa Nadur, distinction. Ted Oberreger. Lauren Ocha. Maggie Orr, distinction. Sunish Oturkar. Kitisak Pata Masse Evi. Diana Pulikas. Clark Peterson. Kurt Ramirez. Vittoria Reimers. Irini Saranti. Joe Scavongelli. Amol Shah, high distinction. Omar Sharaf. Gary Shi. Eric Schoen. Aditya Shukla. Rohit Singhal. Graham Spence. Fiete Stegger. Daniel Stein. Tobias Whitener. Adam White. Senem Yaman. Ned Young. Yui Zhao. Adeline Lon Zhu.
Please join me in congratulating Harvard Business School Class of 2013, Section H. Would Professor Fritz Foley and Section I please come forward?
Eric Adamson. Omar Alfi. Aaron Arnold, high distinction. Simone Bartlett. Giot Bawa. Andrew Bender. Andrea Berlin. Marge Bishop. Raphael Boff. Aaron Bird, distinction. Wendy Chen. Nat Cheverton, distinction. Grace Choi. Karan Chopra, high distinction. Bart Clareman. John Clayton. Clémentine Conta. Catherine Day. Mayur Desai. Anthony de Souza. Carl Alexander Dubek. Javier Echenique. Patrick Erker, distinction. Robert Evans. John Ferens, distinction. Moises Flores. Nathan Flores. Benoit Fredette. Philip Gales. Distinction. Sahil Gupta. Daniel Gus. Fabian Hante. Spencer Harding. Chris Harold. Jenna Haugen, distinction. Toby Hicks. Trish Higgins. Chris Horney. Deborah Shi. Yi An Huang, high distinction. Lisa Isaacs. Sam Callas. Virag Kara, distinction. Sai Cormay. Namrata Kupchandani Singal, distinction. Rob Koenig, distinction. Marek Koshnik. May Lam. Nina Lamia. Catherine Lee. Nathaniel Leung. June Lim. Jack Leisinger. Diana Macon. William McLear. Mariko Meyer, high distinction. Brian Metsue. Hudson Moore. Toby Osibodu. Lily Penn. Katie Peak. Benjamin Peterson, high distinction. Rob Rain. Ariel Roberts. Hugo Ruiz Taboada. Fabio Salim. Barry Schwartz. Julianne Schwetz. Vishnu Sivaj. Martin Smith. Ozan Sunmeth, Amy Stetman, Vic Stone, Stephanie Swingle, Charlotte Taylor, Henok Teklu, Alex Tsoukas, Anita Omarji, Harshit Vaish, Bas van Ginkel, Ruth Wang, Ellie Ward, distinction, Mina Wassef, Carolyn Wintner, distinction, Anne Catherine Witt, Hiroko Yana Gisawa, Rahul Yargop, Dilshoda Yergasheva,
Please join me in congratulating Harvard Business School Class of 2013, Section I. Would Professor Clayton Rose in Section J please come forward?
Don't over. Greg Ambrosia, Nicholas Anderson, distinction, Elena Avramov, Dan Baum, Sebastian Berardi, Adam Berlin, distinction, Neil Bargava, Aaron Boyce, Scott Boyle, Megan Braley, Megan Brown, Nathalie Bruls, Dan Burton, Patricia Ceballos Carrascosa, Stacy Chang, T. Shayakul, Michael Chen, Jaewa Choi, Jeff Chung, Johan Coprio, Cara Culligan, Jenny DeWitt, Iwan Janali, distinction, Shruti Dubey, high distinction, Stelios Elia, high distinction, Christine Essangbedo, Michael Etzel, distinction, Stephanie Frias, Anna Julia, Gary Glusberg, Matt Hostetler. Rotem Iram. Dwayne Jackson. Divya Jane. Darren Johnson, high distinction. Matt Jungers. Anand Kashyap. Shireen Kanuja. Atul Khosla. Shuchi Kotari. Jared Kubin. Calvin Kwong. Blake Landro. Kelly Lapierre. Galen Laserson, Dean's Award winner. Shirley Leong. Jenny Lesser. Therese Lim. Sylvia Luque. Livia Martini. Dina Mehres. Seleni Menschel. David Miller. Seed Misra. Nick Morris. Omar Mwakasa, high distinction. Jonathan Naharro Martin. Eli Namar. Jason Ning. Tun Tump Titi Wieng Dunk. Frank Park. Vivek Pati. Navid Rahimi. Shweta Raina. Blake Rice. Mike Rothenberg. Kotaro Sasamoto. Deborah Singer. Evan Sketchley. Jennifer Smith. Aris Theologis. Taylor Thompson, distinction. Andrew Tyndall. Josh Turnbull. Yuan Wang. Laura Webank. Parker Waltz, Dean's Award winner and high distinction. Alan James Wong. Lin Zhao. James Zumberg, high distinction.
Please join me in congratulating Harvard Business School Class of 2013, Section J. We have diplomas for 2 more groups of joint degree candidates to present. Would Professor Carl Kester and the joint degree candidates for Master of Business Administration and Master in Public Policy or Master in Public Administration from Harvard Kennedy School please come forward?
David Barron. Daniel Bertoli, distinction. Jocelyn Cheng. Phil Georgiou. Nicholas Jerry Bullard, distinction. Mickey Heller. Chris Hurst, distinction. Ryan Kennedy, distinction. Sonny Kushwaha. Antonio Lacayo. Inessa Luray, high distinction. Laura Merritt. Kunal Modi. Ebele Mora. Nabiha Sachedina, distinction. Benjamin Safran, distinction. Shalou Salva. Jane Silfen. Pamela Sood. Michael Trejo. Shunde Tu. Reagan Turner. Wendy Zhang.
Would the joint degree candidates for Master in Business Administration and Juris Doctor from Harvard Law School please come forward?
Ben Black. Ray Lien Dang, high distinction. Stephen Eisenberg. Jeremy Haber. Brent Hurley. Adam Katz, high distinction. Andrew Kennard. David Roth, high distinction. Connor Torchilin.
I hope you have something left. This is it. Class of 2013. One final round of congratulations.